journey know the three stages of delusion, wrong notion that carries forward. Three stages of delusion, wrong notion. So this series, I have changed the title, Becoming a Seeker. So initially it was Become a Seeker. So we understand the first part. I do not know, let me know it. So second is that I do not understand, let me understand it. So how you understand it? Through contemplation. You allow the intellect to come in the front. You are aware. You think of it. If you do not think, nothing is going to happen. So you see, the very first stage is more or less habitual, instinctive, impulsive living. We lead forward from our birth. So the first problem of this habitual, impulsive and instinctive living, if I use the word, let us use that word, attachment. So our topic is know the three stages of delusion and always be ready to change the perspective in our life. So what is the first stage? First stage is habitual, impulsive, instinctive living. So you can summarize that. Its first problem is something like attachment. And there are very subtler layers of attachment. Very subtler layers of attachment in our life that we don't notice. We were dependent on the mom at the time of the birth. So you can say that attachment is dependency. You can say dependency at the psychological level. Physical level, we have to depend on the food, clothes, house, car, etc., etc. We are thinking. And if you have any question, you just interfere. It's very important that you are thinking. So at the physical level, there is no problem. But it is challenging the dependence at the emotional and mental level. So what is the most important point here? The most important point that the moment I meet a person, I start expecting. So that expectation brings the dependence for anything and everything. It happens at the emotional and the mental level. I believe you are getting it. It's a sense of dependence. Attachment, giving more value. Why I give more value? Because I expect. Why I expect? Because I want peace and happiness. Just think of it. You wake up in the morning, and I say bad morning. What it means? I expect from the sun to rise in a particular way so that it gives me a good morning, which is not possible in our life. Not possible. Why it happens? Instinctive, impulsive, habitual mind. Now, if these thoughts and this kind of a life continues, what happens? It gives rise to second problem. What is the second problem? I expected something from you, you did not fulfill. There is an emotional leaning. There is an emotional and mental leaning towards people, things, objects, relationship. So ask yourself, why? We are in the second phase. Why? Contemplate and reflect. Why there is an emotional and mental leaning towards people, things, objects, society, nation. So our master says it is because of fear and insecurity. So the first problem, I do not notice, it gives rise to the second problem, fear and insecurity. And that fear and insecurity results in sorrow and suffering. I start blaming. Take our example of our dear friend. I lived a loveless life. Who told you to live loveless life? As a better example, who told you to live your loveless life? So that mind cannot go inside to look what is love. First, let me understand what is love and why I am expecting love from others. You see, if you rationalize I lived loveless life, what it means? I have to blame the other. Why I have to blame other? Go to the first stage of the problem, attachment. Are you getting it? Is it very clear? So the second problem is sorrow and the suffering. Then I suffer. You see the another statement, I live loveless life. It means I am suffering because of you. You are not listening to see me, that is why I am suffering. Ears are yours. You need an attention. You have to listen. Why should I suffer? So second stage, pay attention and you have to think of it. If you find there is a doubt, ask me again. So emotional independence for insecurity and the fear deep inside. That is the second problem, and that results in lot of sorrow and suffering, my friends. It leads to mood swing. It leads to crying, sadness, unnecessary. When the problem reaches to the second stage, it is very challenging. Have you seen with the drug addiction? The withdrawal symptoms is so powerful. It is because of this. Understand that clearly. In our life, even at the subtler level. So people ask me, what's a problem if I take a coffee every day in the morning? There is no problem. If these two stages are not living in your mind, no problem at all. But there is a problem. So now think of it. First stage, second stage. What is the third stage? The third stage, we say delusion. Because I live in delusion, that is why it is very difficult for me to withdraw, to withdraw from any instinctive and impulsive behavior. That is why it is very difficult to have to withdraw from the withdrawal symptoms. So you see, simple word, attachment, first stage, sorrow and the suffering, second stage, third stage is delusion, confusion, wrong notion in the mind. So Master says purify the mind. Think of this. So I was giving a lesson to another 14-year-old girl, and I said, how many times you get upset over your mom? Yes. A couple of times. I said, you have to apply. I do not know. Let me know it. Always remember. What? I do not know. That is why I got upset. I do not know. That is why I have a delusion. So start thinking. In the second week, and she said, the moment I started thinking, that being upset has gone. You just try this. You need not to believe. So first and the second stage leads to confusion, delusion. Here what happens? The mind has taken over the intellect. That is why we have a delusion. And we have to bring the intellect in the front. I do not understand. Let me understand. Go back to the same statement. I lived loveless life. Normal statement. Now draw a conclusion. Because of the other partner, I lived my loveless life. Huh? And I am blaming. It comes from the second stage. And the mind has taken over the intellect. On the other hand, he is a great genius. So our master says that I may be a great genius in my profession. I may be a failure in my personal relationship. We have seen that. We have seen that. So what happens when these three stages takes place in my life? A sense of helplessness is there in my mind. What should I do? That is why I start crying. I had a lot of tears. Christina is laughing. Everyone cries, don't worry. I also cried many a times. But now understand, so helplessness needs guidance from the teacher. That is why we have the three principles. I do not know, let me know it. I do not understand, let me understand it. I do not experience, let me practice it. Now we are going deeper into these principles, how these principles work. Self-medication will not work. What is self-medication? I lived my loveless life. And what is the prescription medication medication in Eastern wisdom? Understand. Your loveless life is nothing but a delusion, wrong notion, created by the attachment. That is why you are suffering. I'm using the same example. I have nothing to do with that great guy. So you see that is why Eastern wisdom helps us to recognize the root of the problem and shows the path. Because the mind is confused, the intellect cannot do anything. Intellect loses the power to push back the mind. That is why we have to learn these principles of Eastern wisdom to be very clear. And that is the process of becoming a seeker. That is the process of becoming a seeker. My master used to say a common word, vichar. So those people, Indian guys who attended his sessions, vichar karo, contemplate, think of it. First think of the problem, from where it has come, what is the root cause. And we have already underlined the root cause is attachment, one single word, and we can dependency, giving more value to the things, expectations all the time. And that, if it grows in my mind, it leads to sorrow and the suffering. And this sorrow and the suffering, when it goes into the third stage, we say everything outside is responsible for my sorrow and suffering except me. Except me. I'm such a good guy, you see that, and I'm so kind. You see that. You might have heard, I've been so kind, I've been humane all my life, and I'm still suffering because you are crazy, you are guided by the wrong notion, you are guided by the delusion. So your mind is the problem. Mind is the problem. Understand that. So when anytime problem comes, follow, oh, I didn't know, that is why I have a problem. Oh, there is some delusion and wrong notion. Let me sit and find out. You start thinking, and you will see 50% of your challenges goes away. That is very important in becoming a seeker, so that your intellect is always in front of the mind. Mind will continue to demand, mind will continue to expect, because of it is instinctive, because of its habitual nature. Because of its habitual nature. Going further, so the mind then asks, then who am I? And then we become a human being. How we become a human being, that I covered in the last 3 sessions. Eastern wisdom says we have 8.4 million species on this universe. And out of that, human being is different from that. Why? Only because of the intellect. And that intellect gives me the higher self-awareness. So when I start using the intellect, I start living in a higher self-awareness. Mind cannot take over me. Attachment and expectations are gone. And then I realize that I am living with the wrong notions, delusion, maya. Now see the other point our masters talks about in this journey, that how mind gets the vibe that there is a permanent peace and happiness. Think of this. How I get it? How I get the first impulse? Did anybody teach me that here this is happiness, you have to learn, this is happiness, this is love, this is wisdom? Nobody teaches. Do you see that? Nobody teaches. So that is the first indication that yes, when I get a pleasure by taking a cup of coffee, it means there is something deeper hidden within me that I have to find out. That I have to find out. It is within me. Can I get rid of these likes and dislikes, hatred and the love and attachment and detachment, and then see what happens? That is what happened to Buddha. That love overflowed, became compassion outside. How mind felt happiness when we were born? Did anybody teach us? We didn't know any language. Think of this. Why we think of this? Because mind must realize that happiness, that love, that wisdom is within me. That is real self. If I do not think, the mind will continue to move instinctively, habitually, expecting from the world, and then we continue to suffer. We continue to suffer. Did anyone teach us to live, search and find peace, happiness, love and wisdom? There is no discipline except the Eastern wisdom. That is why we have to learn these simple principles. And once we are mature, it means we need a mental and intellectual maturity. That is becoming a seeker. Simple. And that is why when we learn these principles, a kind of mental and intellectual security takes place. At that time, if you ask, do I love peace? Yes. So peace is my nature. I've repeated many a times. Do I love happiness? Happiness is my nature. That is why I love. If you say, I hate you, So, do I love anyone who hates me? Or just ask the question, do I love stress? No. Who says it in my mind? Who is that? What is the center from where this answer comes? That is a glimpse that we have a real self. The real self is full of peace and happiness, love and wisdom. So, seeker is one who is always in search for this permanent happiness, love and wisdom in his life. Whatever the conditions is there. Whatever the conditions are outside. Why? Because that peace and happiness are independent of the outer conditions. Outer, whether it's a weather condition, social condition, family condition. Did you ever ask, is seeking permanent peace, happiness right or wrong? No. Well, ask the question. What the answer comes? It is right. Why you are not asking? Why you are not searching? When in relationship, at profession, talking to someone, living with someone, why don't you ask this question? I forget it. Why you forget it? Delusion, wrong notion. 3 stages. Did you get it? It is because of the first 3 stages I forget it. So what happens? By contemplation, we land up with the right question. I told you that we need an emotional and mental maturity to become a seeker. And the seeker always succeeds in meditation. That results into awakening and realization. If that maturity is not there, so that is why this question is seeking permanent peace and happiness within me while talking to you, while living in relationship, while doing my professional activity is right or wrong. So if it is right, I constantly live with a higher self-awareness in my day-to-day life, in my day-to-day relationship. Think of this. It's not a big deal. Nothing big deal. It is very simple, straight. We already understand that all kinds of pleasure are short-lived happiness. They come and go. The mind, because of the delusion, feels that when I come in contact with an object, for example, coffee, or tea, or a person, or a honey, I feel happy. So mind, because of the delusion, gives the responsibility of the happiness to the object outside that is not there. That is the delusion. And that demands only emotional and mental maturity. Nothing else. And if we don't have that maturity, that mind continues to run outside, running all the time. That causes the wandering mind. So when I understand that my mind is wandering or agitated because of the first 3 stages that I just explained. So what is going to happen? You have the mental and the intellectual maturity, and in that maturity, mind is ready to tread the path of awakening and realization. So understand the three stages, how the mind enters into the delusion, allow the intellect to come, contemplate and reflect. Anytime you feel you are responsible for my misery and problem, bring the intellect in front and see what is the reality. And when you start exploring, reflecting on it, you will find that, oh, you are already relaxed. Why? Mind is making me crazy. And that's what I have been saying again and again and again. That this instinctive, habitual, impulsive mind makes you believe that happiness, peace are outside, with a person, with an event, with an object, and we are already into delusion. Then we try to rationalize. Because our rationalization is guided by the instinctive, habitual mind, that is why we need a teacher. That is why we have a master and seeker tradition. Did you understand that? Because now the mind is constantly guided. I don't want to listen. Look at the same statement. I lived loveless life for 27 years. Oh, very sorry to hear about you. Very sorry. You lived loveless life. So, because of the content in the mind for 27 years concluded, there the intellect is not ready to follow. That is the state of helplessness. And that is why we started the master and a disciple tradition. There is no other reason. We all are intelligent. Perhaps you are more intelligent than the teacher. Is Bill Gates not more intelligent than us? We all are intelligent. Think of this. Think. It demands your thinking. Oh, but we take these words. Last point is very important. Is also very important, and then this mind, when it continues to live in the delusion, it leads to a continued state of suffering in the mind. Even outside you are not suffering. And it is caused by cultural conditioning, personal conditioning, and universal conditioning. 3 levels are there. Cultural means social. I belong to a particular religion or a cult and a dogma. They say you will suffer because what will happen? If you continue to pray God, you will go to heaven. Come on, I'm suffering now. I'm not interested in going to heaven in the future. I want peace and happiness now. So like this, you have lot of cultural conditioning. We have to get rid of it. Eastern wisdom says we are not interested in that. We are not interested in future. Same thing, the personal conditioning, personal preferences. Personal preferences dictated by the likes and dislikes, hate and the love. I hate this. Don't express it. You don't like it, it's okay. Do you see that? You don't like it, it's okay. Keep your mind pure. And then we have a universal suffering, like Ida hurricane recently came. We have to endure that. We have to safeguard that. So the ultimate message is 3 stages of the suffering, and we demand from the mind and intellect that we should have an emotional and mental maturity in relationship to my life, in relationship to my thought, speech and action. I may be extremely intelligent in other factors, that's okay. So with that understanding, let us start our practice, my friend. I love you guys, you guys and girls, you are tolerating me, you're listening to me. Thank you. Eyes are closed. Body is steady and eyes are closed. Position of the body with awareness. Do not sit in a position that causes any kind of a stretching. Casual sitting. It is just nothing but raising your awareness of the body. Being comfortable is simply raising awareness towards the body. Go a little deeper. So you become aware of any discomfort and ease. And what is going to happen the moment I say body is steady? That mind has a maturity. Eyes are closed. So the intellect says, yes, I understand. The outer condition in the world I cannot change. There may be any sound, maybe sense of touch. Sense organ may pick up the objects of the senses, but I'm okay. But I keep my ears attentive, listening to the practice and the steps. This idea, this wisdom comes from the intellect. It will never come from the mind. And mind is now facing. When that intellectual maturity is there, knowledge is there, the mind will continue to face inside. It has no problem at all. And again, move the mind from the neck joint to all the joints of the body, one after the other. Slowly, gently, looking at the shoulder joints, elbows. And every time you see it, there is bound to be a feeling of deepening of the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Shoulder joints, sensation, comfort, and steadiness. You see, you are flowing. Like in the river, the water flows, making a beautiful sound. The same thing, the mind now flows. Why? Because we have a mental maturity now. That is becoming a seeker, my friends. Hip joint, sensation, comfort, and steadiness, and knee joints, sensation, comfort, and steadiness. I appreciate you all. That's what will happen naturally. And the entire body. Now pick up another point that is coming to my mind. So when I experience sensation, comfort, and steadiness in the body, I also feel a kind of separation from the body. Your mobile is steady? Yes. TV is steady? Yes, we feel the kind of separation, my friends. Same separation we feel. Never forget this point. So the goal is not to remain steady, comfortable, but to know clearly that I am not the body. Gradually I'm picking up one point, and so that is absorbed by your mind, and you say yes. Being steady, comfortable, and feeling the sensation is to know that I am And it will happen naturally. I am not the body. And the same thing applies being carefree. Thoughts are coming and going, good thoughts, bad thoughts, likes and dislikes. Why I give you an example that you are standing across a road and watching the traffic? You are separate from the entire thoughts, feeling and the sensations that enters into the mind, that stays, that makes us crazy. They cannot make the crazy once I feel they are separate from me. And in that state, when we start doing with the mantra, now here applies the mantra. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. May there be well-being for all. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. So here we ask the intellect, what is this all? May there be well-being all. So it is the intellect who discovers that the well-being is a state, which is a common element in every being of this universe, always present. Whether I am in stress, that is delusion, well-being is present behind. So the practice means the intellect is guiding the mind while reciting Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. May there be peace for all. Peace is inherent, our essential nature. Why? Because we are a living being, so it means that peace is the essential nature of every living being. You see, that destroys the rationalization by the mind that I lived loveless life. What is this? Mental and intellectual maturity. It will not come until the mind is purified. A caveat. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. May there be completeness in all. This mind makes me crazy, obsessed, lazy, deluded, only because mind says you are not complete, so search something outside. The intellect says you are complete in yourself. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Mind will raise 1,000,000 doubts. If it raises 1,000,000 doubts that I am not complete in myself, that is the delusion. I have already explained the 3 stages of delusion. What the intellect should do, bring it back, look inside, stay deep inside the heart. Mind will go back again. Mind will say you that you have been sitting in this posture, you feel discomfort. It will continue to make us crazy, lazy and obsessed because of its delusion, because of its impurity. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. And the last one, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. You may sing Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. May there be happiness for all. May there be happiness for all. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. We are already centered, the mind is already living within. Pick up the mantra Shantoham. We'll use the three centers, the center of wisdom, center of desire, and the center of action. So means the purification at thought, speech, and knowledge level. So look inside the forehead in the space. Let the intellect makes you aware of a point in the space. And start hammering mentally, quick, fast, and loud with the Shantoham, 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 Shantoham. Why I said hammering? The nail is hammering into the wall. So you are moving the mind within. You will find out, you will discover that, oh, as if you are totally away from the body. Even you bypass the breath. You are deeper within. Condition, quick, fast, and loud in your mind. You don't allow any other thought except the Shantoham. Shantoham, 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 Shantoham. Quick, fast, and loud without moving the lips and the tongue. So that is why we bypass the body. You see, we are using the intellect. Maturity of the intellect. A mature mind and intellect can never practice, can never succeed. That is why, you see the Google 1 minute meditation, 5 minutes instant meditation. Shantoham, Shantoham, Shantoham. It is so much quick, fast, and loud hammering. The mind does not go outside, not even to the body and the breath. And it will happen. It happens normally. So that is the Tantra step, practice from the Tantra. Continue. Shantoham, 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 Shantoham. And stop this hammering, do nothing. Now, through your intellect, check the emptiness within, even if the thoughts are outside. You are aware of the world outside. You are aware of the body. You are aware of the breath. And also the emptiness and nothingness within. Just see that how it works. So again, because I feel the sense of incompleteness, that's why I have many thoughts. So look inside the rib cage, the center of the rib cage, the center of the heart. When we say center of the heart, it is the center of the rib cage. Our heart is different from the physical heart. Be there. And start Shantoham, quick, fast, and loud. Pick up a point in the space as if you are hammering. Or Shantoham is touching at the point in the space deep inside the heart. But you are asking the mind, you have to do it quick, fast, and loud in your mind. Shantoham. Quick, fast, and loud. You will experience that you are already deeper. You have nothing to do with your body and nothing to do with your breath. Much deeper. You forget means the mind is gone outside, return again, hammer it again. Mind will complain, no, hammering is not painful. Don't listen to that. How the hammering is painful? You're doing it mentally. We are not listening to the tantrums of the mind. Now, stop the hammering, stay there deep inside the heart. Check the emptiness within, even if the thoughts, feelings, sensations are outside. No worries. Don't you see the space above and the traffic while driving? Yes. What is known as sun and moon roof from the car. So the third, our actions guided by the mind because of delusion. So that action is also impure, and the center of that action is the belly button. Look deep inside the belly button, in the space, at a point in the space, and start hammering. Shantoham, 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 Shantoham. Quick, fast, and loud, not moving the lips and the tongue. You hear the noise. It is so loud in your head that no other thought dares to enter. If I use the word dares to enter. And see what happens. On a given day, Shantoham, 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 quick, fast, and loud. It is happening. Now is the time to stop hammering. Check again the emptiness and the space within. And thoughts, feelings, sensations, everything. When body is there, sense organs are there, we are awake, we are living in a waking state, they are natural. But we are not carried away by it. And now is the time to see the breath, which is normal. When the breath goes in, drop Shantoham on the breath. Let the mind absorb deeper inside. When the breath comes out, Shantoham, let the Shantoham absorb deep outside. Absorption, you already know, self-absorption. So mind reaches to that state where a kind of self-absorption is there. Remember, when I use the word self-absorption here, it is the dropping of the separate identity, which is ego. And that results into unusual, deeper experiences. You can use the intellect. Shantoham means I am the peace. Do you remember peace is nothing but an infinite space? Why we are doing it? In the presence of awareness of the infinite space, the subtle ego does not stand anywhere. And doing nothing now, even drop Shantoham just there. We are living being with a self-awareness. So we can be in the state of doing nothing. And doing nothing is a happening stage, is a stage of revelation. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind to the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Raise both your palms, place it on your eyes, open the eyes inside, know your experiences, bring the hands down. We'll share our experiences now. How are you, Stephen?
Terrific. The meditation was just real quiet, peaceful. The Shanto hum, when we were doing the first hammering in the head, was like I had no effect on it because it was a realization that I was really in this deep space of peace and quietness. When we went to the heart, I actually felt this warmth take place around the space that I was focused in on. And the odd thing that I remembered from it is I actually felt like I was going to throw up at that point, and then it just went away. And I just completely went in, and this thing was over before I knew it. So there's nothing more I could share after that.
Beautiful. It is going to happen when the mind resists and reacts. So these symptoms of throwing out, sometime pain, sometime body movement will happen. Today, Terry didn't move. So that's a beautiful. How are you, Lara?
I had a lot of duality in the mind today because I had a big incident that happened. My dog got bit this morning before I got here, and so I hadn't processed it. And so then I sat down and I was like, started to process it. My mind was a million places. So I watched the mind go like really busy and then be able to come back in and just kind of play with that. And then realizing that I was totally distracted. It wasn't my best meditation ever, but it's not like I'm not a meditator. Just today was a different day. When we did do the Shanto hum, I could feel it in the head. I had to move my lips initially because my mind was so busy. In the heart, it was really easy, and then the navel center was fine. But the head, I had to move my lips a little bit because it was just like I couldn't do it. So it was fun to watch.
That's a good recognition that how the mind enters into the conflict and creates a delusion.
Yeah, it's like just this is really duality.
Duality, yes.
Just watching that.
Yeah.
I have just a real quick question. That when someone else has expectations for you, so there's somebody that's expecting me, they expect me to pay them for something that they haven't done. And so what do you do with that piece?
You explain them clearly. You should be very clear. Use the intellect. Use intellect. What is the fact? At any point, in any event, if you have done something and they have provided you the service, pay them. But if it is not, it is better to sit down and explain.
I have.
But even if
they still
they don't listen to you.
No.
Keep a distance. Don't have a fear. Don't be guided by the insecurity and the fear. What will happen? Nothing is going to happen. And whatever has to happen will happen. But keep your mind calm. Most important. Though this world outside is going to cause you the dualities, conflict and confusion. But if I'm following the right path, I'm calm. I'm at peace. I'm doing what is right and good. I'm not affected by any other person. Let other person do it, whatever they want to do. It demands a tremendous endurance, patience, wisdom, and it will be done. How are you, David and Jerry? David. How are you, Terry? You didn't move.
Not much. Moved my hands a couple times.
Yeah.
That's about all. I feel like I just want to say I'm aware of my. I'm aware of my discomfort. I'm aware of my success and my failure, like where I did good and where I didn't do good.
That's a good point.
And I'm aware of the things that I feel like I'm not doing it well enough, succeeding enough, and then I feel like I have to just not put guilt on myself and don't, and then I feel like, oh, that's going so easy on yourself. You should do better. And I'm like, no, that's not going to help. So just go, okay, you did lousy. Let's forget about it. And,
yes. That is a beautiful way to explain mental state. There are 5 mental states. We discussed about it. I will repeat it. So first 3 mental states we fail. It seems that we are failing. But if the intellect returns our mind back to the last 2 states, we succeed. That is your experience. We will discuss about it. How are you, David and Jerry?
Sorry about that. I pushed the wrong button. Very similar to Stephen's experience in that finding out that there's this, as soon as we start, there's this automatic dropping or raising the, just everything goes into a peaceful stage. But the hammering, I found the same thing as Stephen did with the heart, the warmth in the body. But by the forehead at the end, it seems like every week or every day that we do this, I get into sort of a deeper state. So the hammering in the forehead, I was just like in a very, very deep, state.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's a wonderful experience. How are you, Jerry?
I'm doing well. The meditation was it was good. The mind was reflecting a bit on the transactional world, I guess, of grief, addiction.
Yeah.
And so my mind and my intellect were just kind of processing that a bit and just wondering if through grief and addiction that you just let emotion flow like a river, kind of.
Yeah.
Because in that transactional world, right, the grief, we do have to flow through that.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know. So I was just trying to make sense of that a bit.
Good. You know what, in Eastern wisdom, we first step is that, again, go back. I don't know, let me know it. So I have some habit, my mind is going back, so my intellect is thinking why it is going back. It keeps thinking until the mind says that there is nothing outside where I'm going. So even for a moment the mind calms down, it naturally withdraws within. It says, no, let me sit down. Enough is enough. So that is what is the process of reflection going on in your head. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So how are you, Christina?
I'm well, thank you for that practice. I do enjoy it. It goes so fast when we do the hammering, just so quick. It feels like it was 5 minutes long. I noticed within each section, I had a different type of wave of, it was like a wave crashed and then it was subtle dust, or like not dust, but it was like shimmery dust, and at each point there was a different type of wave, and then it was just that fluttering of
Good.
calm, and so
Calm.
it was very peaceful, and the hammering really helps me, so I enjoy
Hammering.
these practices.
Hammering helps your mind to purify. Yes, that is wonderful way of sharing. So, Barbara.
It was a very good meditation for me. In the beginning, when we were hammering Shantoham into the forehead, I was feeling some resistance. But when we're hammering Shantoham into the heart, it just was beautiful and blissful. And then I had a strange sensation when we were hammering Shantoham into the belly button. I felt my belly pulling inward by itself.
Pulling inside.
And just like when you hold your belly in, it was happening by itself. And then in the end, it was just blissful and wonderful.
So we should note down when we are hammering. So sometime may happen not only at the belly button but also at the ribs, as if there is some forces constricting, pulling it inside, pulling it out. Let it happen. We need not to worry. It is just a release. The mind is moving into calmness and peace. It's a beautiful explanation. And then we have Vaibhav. How are you, Vaibhav? Antoinette, 3 people are left,
Sir, I'm fine. My experience was that when I was just doing the hammering and reaches to the navel level, so it was like that there was a lot of space getting created inside. Like I'm expanding, kind of expanding at that point of time. And then there was something that I was just thinking, is it like that I see myself in the objects that we see. And when there is no object, then there's a kind of space, emptiness comes inside us. So mind was not accepting that emptiness also. Because it is very new to the mind.
Yes. You see that the mind is so much heavily conditioned and habituated by the identification with the body, mind, thought, breath, ego. And suddenly your mind went much deeper. So that has led to this experience. So what a wonderful thing that we continue to stay into that, watch that, remain a witness, and it will take us deeper. How are you, Sangeeta?
सर वही है, शांतो हमसे एकदम थॉट्स खत्म हो जाते हैं और सिर्फ पीस और पीस ही रहता है.
Only the peace is left by saying Shantoham. There are 2 parts that I will talk about it. If we have that pure emotion, only the pure emotion, so Shantoham dissolves into the pure emotion. That is what we say the yoga of love or meditation of love. So that is what happened to her. It's a beautiful. How are you, Ashok?
Sir, good and peaceful. But while doing Shantoham, then it was not very quick and fast. It was slow and was deeper, but not. You are saying so. Fast, quick and fast. So when I was going to do it fastly, so that was not up to that mark.
Yeah.
But it is good and peaceful.
Continue this week doing it, hammering faster and loud, it will happen. So sometime the impurity of the mind takes over and then we cannot do so faster. So that is one reason. How are you, Antoinette?
I'm fine. That was very fast, very deep and relaxing. I had a complete sense of bodilessness. And then I realized that it was very quiet and the connection was gone.
Yeah.
So I had to jump back into the call.
Yes. I realized that someone started talking. I muted it, and then you reconnected again. Yeah, that happens. But yes, that sense of quietness should come. So remember the three. Work on this week. Instinctive, impulsive, habitual mind at a very subtler level continues. So that continues the attachment, and ultimately the second stage that causes the sorrow and the suffering. So it means the moment I feel the discomfort, unease, pain, it is because of the first level. Then the third level, then I have to I need an intellectual maturity to remove that wrong notion. One statement again, because it gives a reference, nothing to do with our friend that I live loveless life. So that statement has to be examined, reflected on, and the intellectual maturity comes, it removes the wrong notion, and I am at peace. That is all for today. We will meet again. Thank you very much.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.
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 Thank you.